What's happening? All the haters can get at me. Now, shouts out to my brother Solomon Hill. Solomon Hill. Oh, yeah. Now, let's get into this on this glorious, glorious day. Bradley Beal, James Harden. Well, see, the problem is this. James Harden and Bradley Beal on two different teams, but they both decided to do something that was the shock and awe of the entire NBA when it happened. I don't see what the big shock and awe is, but as far as something major that's happening to the league, but what I did notice was that it was something that was expected. What James Harden is doing is something that's very team friendly and keeping everyone on an even keel. Do you know what that means? What James Harden is doing, yeah, no notifications were sent out for this, buddy. But what James Harden was doing was actually helping out the team. The 76ers is what he's going to sign back to. But he'll sign back for a 5-year deal. But it's going to help the team. It's going to help them with their. It's going to help them with their salary cap. Well, when your salary cap isn't in a good space, you opting in for the 40-something million dollars, that's a big hit on the cap. So if you restructure the deal and come back in, you can opt out of the contract. This is what Kyrie Irving's situation was supposed to look like. Kyrie Irving was supposed to opt out of the contract because they were negotiating a 5-year deal, just like James Harden is doing, just like Bradley Beal is doing. Sorry, this ain't an X-Ray jersey. This is Solomon Hill jersey. Solomon Hill is the man that brought the. Yeah, Solomon Hill brought the justice back to the league by accident. He brought he brought peace and prosperity back to the game. Um, Many different flaws took place. Many things that was put on the table for these two guys. were lost and opportunities. But this is the same thing we were talking about with Kyrie Irving. Bradley Beal is going to sign back with the Wizards for 5 years in a sign and trade. Now, last year I told you they were working on him going to the 76ers to join James Harden and Joel Embiid. So James Harden and Bradley Beal both decide at the same time to opt out of their massive deals so they can sign a cap-friendly deal with the team. James to stay, sign a 5-year deal to stay with the 76ers. And Bradley Beal to sign a 5-year deal with the Wizards, but in a signing trade situation, which will put Bradley Beal possibly still with the 76ers. Now you'll have 3 max guys down the road, but who knows how that'll play out. But it'll be cap friendly in those first 2 years. Now, if they decide to go to other teams, which they can, the most they can get is a 4-year contract. Where if they stay with their team, they can do 5. Thanks for the super chats too. I appreciate it. Solomon Hill, baby. No, because what Solomon Hill did was bring peace and tranquility back to the NBA. By hook or by crook is what he did. By playing the game the right way. Kyrie Irving was fighting for this exact situation right here. What Kyrie Irving was trying to do was fight for justice, fight for peace, to have his name in lights, to have his name in the situations that needed to be. What Kyrie Irving was doing yeah, because what Kyrie was doing was something incredibly different. That's what Kyrie was doing. He was being friendly with the team, and the team is not committed to redoing the deal, so that's why he opted in for his final season. So this is a hit against the Brooklyn Nets. It's a cap hit for $36 million. It's not a lot. They could survive it, but they're going to lose Patty Mills, who's going to move on. You're going to lose Joe, who's been hurt for a whole season. Joe Harris is going to be out. And you really have to revamp your team. If the 76ers trade and get Bradley Beal, and they have James Harden and Joel Embiid, it's going to be nothing but trouble. even more of a problem in the East. Superstar players can be moved. Uh, you have Ben Simmons, who you're paying all this money to, who's a question, who's a walking question mark. Is that what you want for your team? Harden is not dependable. Well, dependable or not, um, he can get a max deal. So his dependability isn't in question. What seems to be in question all the time when it comes to Kyrie's situation is, will he be available? Who do I see the Lakers picking up? Nothing much. They could still get Kyrie Irving at the trade deadline. Like by next season, if they wanted to, they can go get Kyrie Irving if they're prepared to make a trade for Kyrie Irving. See, by him opting into the last year instead of them working out a deal, they could still work out a deal in the season, but now you've taken a cap hit of 36 million, which a lot of it's going to be against the cap. It kind of hurts your flexibility as a team to make a move. Um, you want to look at teams that should have done better, or say they should have moved or made some moves. The Chicago Bulls are feeling like they're making the right move, but do you want to pay $200 million for Zach LaVine? I don't think Zach LaVine is $200 million player when you got guys like Kyrie Irving out here, and you talking about some, I don't know if he's going to be available. And it's like, are you serious? They was like, yeah, but Kyrie gets hurt all the time. Kyrie Irving, let me tell you something about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving was hurt one time when he was with Boston. One time. He's explained it himself. He was hurt one time. And it wasn't that he was hurt. He had a knee surgery, and they went to take the screws out of his knee. Something that they supposed to do. It was irritating him, so he went to take the screws out. He's supposed to have been out like a couple of weeks. He's supposed to have been back by the playoffs. But when they took it out, they saw the rust. The screws in there had rusted, and that he had an infection that had gotten in his bloodstream because of it. So now he's going to be out for a couple of months, and he was getting basically a blood transfusion. So he was supposed to be back for the playoff run. When he was with the Brooklyn Nets, he didn't miss a lot of games. What, the only time he missed games is when they screwed with him. Kyrie Irving got hurt in the playoffs last year, the year before when they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. He got injured in the playoffs. Then last season, he didn't get hurt. Kyrie was restricted from playing. Let that sink in. He's restricted from playing a year after the pandemic. So we're about 2 seasons in. The year when the Milwaukee Bucks win the National Basketball Championship. And the movie Rise is a good movie to watch. The Giannis family movie on Disney Plus. You got Disney Plus, watch Rise. The story of the Antetokounmpo. So to say Kyrie Irving, the talent he isn't worth that kind of money, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know how people live with themselves. Well, that's not Kyrie's problem. Well, Bradley Beal's going to do what's best for Washington. He has no desires to, if other teams can't come to an agreement, it's what it is. So the Lakers got an option. They can either get Kyrie Irving, which would be hard to do, what wouldn't be hard to do in the trade deadline. Pick him up, make a deal. The Nets are playing for half his contract, and then the Lakers can take the soft hit and pay the other half of what's left of his contract after the All-Star break. So all the Lakers have to do is wait and be patient down the road, and then Kevin Durant will make his decisions based off that, on staying with the Brooklyn Nets. Everyone's like freaking out. Kevin Durant hasn't spoken to the Brooklyn. His agent and has already informed him that any move, Kevin would want to know prior to him reading on television what the future or the direction of the team is. And Kyrie has promised to let Kevin know what his decisions and plans is going to be so that Kevin can move accordingly and vice versa. They made that promise to each other that before any announcement is made, the other person would know the situation. So in case they got to move accordingly or make some decisions, they can just go ahead and do it. I don't see I don't see hardly anybody doing anything other than Bradley Beal always had a great relationship with the Washington Wizards. Last year they was trying to do what was best by him and trade him, but he was battling an injury and that wrist injury came and that was it. Now Bradley Beal is someone that stays hurt. He gets hurt a lot. Nobody talks about that. But Bradley Beal gets hurt a lot. Nobody says nothing. Nobody talks about Bradley at all. Bradley can do whatever he wants. Washington has no plans of going anywhere. They basically have a good system without Bradley Beal. I mean, they got a good nucleus to like make the playoffs probably, but no championship aspirations. But yet, you got a player that wants a big contract. What do? You move him. Why does Montrezl Harrell keep getting moved? Um, Quite easy to me, easy to see rather. Montrezl Harrell is a locker room problem. Um, it's a lot of immaturity there. It's a lot of things that happen. He lost his grandmother. He lost the people that was key in his life that tell him, "Hey, man, stop tripping." He lost those factors in his life. So people think just because you make money, it's all good. It's not all good. Oh, this is Solomon Hill, Jerry. No, if he signs a 5-year deal, he's probably going to be moved. Bradley Beal was supposed to go to the 76ers last year. They were supposed to pick up Bradley Beal in the next season, which is this season here. My information was told to me that they're trading for that they was trading for um, Tobias Harris. What's his name? Matthews, Tyrann Matthews. There's a list of players, but they were trading for these guys. And when you make trades for these individuals, a lot of things was in play. They wanted Maxey, and Maxey, 76ers didn't want to part with him in this deal. And draft picks were negotiated, so they said, well, we'll revisit it next year. Bradley Beal got hurt his wrist, and wasn't 100%. So when you have a player who's your star athlete and he's not 100%, it's hard to facilitate a deal. It's hard to make a contract negotiation. It's hard to put any of those things into perspective. It's hard to do any of those things that you need to do. But what that does is free up a lot of space for Washington to make moves if they're able to do the sign and trade. So that way Bradley Beal get his 5 years, but he won't be the responsibility. He could still go to 76ers. And James Harden has done the same. James Harden has opted out the friendly re-sign with the Brooklyn 76ers. So it could be cap friendly. So if they did want to go get Bradley Beal, they could pull this off. Yeah, if they wanted to acquire Bradley Beal, it could be done. With these, it could be accomplished. There's no reason why it could not be accomplished. James Harden is cursed. I don't think he's cursed. I mean, in the playoffs, he's come up small. But if he delegates that, you mean to tell me if Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Bradley Beal was on the same team, that wouldn't be a dangerous look? I know for a fact that the Washington Wizards and the 76ers have been working on getting Bradley Beal since last year. They tried to do a sign and trade last year and get this done. So now this year, they're in position. He's healthy. He's recovered from his wrist surgery. Both players have done what their parts are into creating the cap space. If they wanted to, So check that out. If they wanted to, they could both go sign someplace else and take a 4-year deal. Let's just say that was on the table. Who got the money to sign them for 4 years? How many teams? All the teams that are in contention to winning a NBA championship, who would have the money to sign them? The Dallas Mavericks, maybe. They just lost a very key piece. So they're looking to acquire somebody that could play alongside Luka. Jalen Brunson played himself into a 4-year, $100 million deal with the Knicks. The Knicks was making cap space, everyone thought, for Kyrie Irving. No, they was making a move for Jalen Brunson. That was the guard that they wanted. Um, Jalen Brunson is a scoring point guard. He's more of a short two guard, but Jalen Brunson can play. And he can get his own shot when he needs to. Yeah, he got his son home. So when they did that move in the draft, that was just to free up money so they can go ahead and do what they needed to do, and bring in Jalen Brunson on the team. Yeah, the 76ers are spending a lot of money if they acquire that. That's not something that you can sustain go moving forward because Joel Embiid's contract is going to dip into the 50 millions. Seriously, it's dipping into the 50 millions. So you want to have two players with 5-year contracts, well, three of them with 5-year deals, right? So you're looking at probably 2 seasons if you do pull that off. Leave you with little wiggle room to re-sign any other talent. Will it bring a championship? That remains to be seen. But what's also known in this situation or equation is that you're going to have to deal with the ramifications of what's going to happen to the team when it don't work. Because you're going to have to move one of those guys with the heavy leg of their contract coming up. Who's going to want to take James Harden 2 years later for $40-some million? Who's going to want to take Bradley Beal 2 years later for $40-some million? You're going to have to move one. So when one door closes, basically another door opens up. But new problems will rear its head when you go down those roads. The Chicago Bulls, to me, are doing what the Chicago Bulls do. It's like they're not trying to win championship. That team is playing like they've always played. They're playing. They're playing just to be playing. That's it. They're playing to go to the playoffs. They won those 6 championships. That'll suffice. Reinsdorf is into making money. The only time would he care about the Bulls being in contention is when ticket sales aren't what they are. Bulls make their money off of marketing and merchandise. They're still selling Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan jerseys and Dennis Rodman jerseys. And people are still buying them. What does that mean? It means that people will always find a way so thank you, E. Leezy. Appreciate you guys. Because even though they didn't send out any notifications or any word about anything, you guys still showed up. So I definitely appreciate that. There's a lot of different ways people can look at it. I mean, anything can happen in sports. People change their minds. You've seen it happen many times over. People will change everything that they want to do, and that's that. Beal is nice, but he ain't nice. Well, so a lot of people think he's nice. Now, I want people to look at the equations that's together. If you have Bradley Beal, what does it bring to your team value-wise? Well, if you have Bradley Beal, you're looking at a team that can create space cap-wise. You're going to have a team that fits in different situations. You're going to have a team that's, I won't say they're locked into their position, but realistically, they have a shot to make some things happen that other teams might not be leery to at the time. I think the 76ers, it's a bold move to have that much money tied up with James Harden and Bradley Beal on the same team with Joel Embiid. If they're able to pull that off, to have 2 5-year players on a team where you'll be committed to paying that kind of money 2 years from now. 2 years from now, you'll be paying Joel Embiid $47 million a season, almost 50. Bradley Beal 2 seasons from now will be worth about $40-some million. James Harden in his deal will be worth about close to $40 million. So you're gonna have 3 players on your team in about 2 years that will be close to about $40 million. Tobias Harris is getting traded. Yes, they will move that contract. So to move that contract and to have Bradley Beal step in the place of that contract, they're okay with that because now that was a bad contract. Signing Tobias Harris to that kind of money made no sense whatsoever. Dame doesn't want to leave Portland because basically, where is he going to go? The Lakers? Portland went and got a couple of players to assist him to make it easier for him, but where's he going to do? Where's he going to go? Really? To be realistic, where's he going to go? I don't see him doing too much of anything anywhere. No. John Collins' problem is he just has to be reliable as far as health. But it's no longer, I think, feasible for John and Trey Young to play on the team with each other. It's too much jealousy on the team, and you can't have that. John Collins would be a great, exceptional piece, but it's all about his health. Dame to Philly. Uh, if Dame Dollar went to Philly, what would happen there? Dame in Philly, you got him and James Harden. Dame is not really known for his facilitating. James is. So James will be running the point. Joel Embiid, you gotta worry about Dame. James will be an ISO. Dame will be an ISO, but he don't penetrate anymore like he used to. Dame's game is kind of set back. Kind of set back a little bit. It's not where it used to be. If the Brooklyn Nets were able to get Aiton and get rid of Ben Simmons for him, oh, that's amazing. And that just set this Phoenix Suns back. They're going back to the lottery. You just set your team back to the lottery. If you lose Aiton, you're setting your team back to the lottery. That is the dumbest trade in history. The Brooklyn Nets should have paid Kyrie Irving and did his deal, gave him his 5-year deal, and let that be that. Now, you risk losing Kyrie Irving after this season. Because right now, he can move. He can go to the Lakers or any other team. He could wait and see the position. And right before the trade deadline, gone. So his signing into his deal, which really is them taking a hit on the cap. This is what they didn't want, was him to sign in and do this deal. So if you do basically a sign and trade situation is different, but because you would clear it off your books. But to sign in the way he did, nobody's gonna really take it at 36 million. They don't want to really hit on their cap that hard, so they'll wait till this first year is up. Get him for half the money, and he'll choose which teams he wanted to get traded to. Quite sure a lot of teams would want Kyrie, who's in a winning situation. But that's kind of messed up to leave KD in that situation. Dog, less than 1% of all the players in the NBA win NBA championships. Less than 1%. Let's go back to the 80s. Who were winning championships in the 80s? 76ers, Boston Celtics, Lakers, Pistons. That's 4 teams. Four. For a decade. Let's go through the 90s. Right? The Pistons won in 1990. From 91 to 93 were the Bulls. They got 6 in that era. The Rockets got 2. Right? So that's 9 years right there with 3 teams. Pistons won in 1990. From 91, well, 6 of them belong to the Bulls. We know that, right? 2 to the Houston Rockets. And the last one was that Spurs year. 4 teams. 4. The 2000 era. Okay. From the year 2000 to 2002 or 3, the Lakers won. Then the Spurs won. Spurs got what? They got 3 in that span. The Lakers got 5, I believe, in that span, if not 9. No, 5. Because in 2010, Kobe closed that out. So they got 5 championships within the 10-year span. So the Lakers got 5 in that span, right? The Detroit Pistons, the Spurs got 3 in that span, I believe. Then the Pistons got 1 and the Heat got 1. So 4 teams. No, the Lakers got 5. Well, you're right, because 2010 we'll put them at 4. But as you can see, there's 32 teams in the league. And every year, it's about 4 teams that win in 10 years. The average has been about 4 teams that's winning all the championships. So less than 1% of the NBA is winning NBA championships. So how can you judge a who's the best player by who's winning rings? Hell, Steve Kerr got 5 rings as a player. So is Will Purdue. So if less than 1% is that way, there have been a lot of players who have been outstanding who had never played the playoffs. Let that sink in. We talking about championships. There's been outstanding players that had never made the playoffs. Dave Bing for the Detroit Pistons, like he was ahead of his time. But Dave Bing playing for the Pistons and with Bob Lanier and all these, they couldn't even get to the playoffs. Big Shot Bob got 7 rings. He's not even in the Hall of Fame. He sacrificed his game to be a role player. Will's got 4. You sure he ain't got 5? I know he got 3 with the Bulls. Then after getting his 3 with the Bulls, he went to the Spurs, and I thought he won 2 with the Spurs. There you go, Twizzo. 11 teams have won NBA championships over the last 30 seasons. Like I told you, less than 1%. So what does that keep telling you? Does it make the league interesting? It doesn't. It's telling you that small market teams basically have no shot at winning an NBA championship because the league will lose money. So if that's the case, then you know the games are not going to be judged or refereed or officiated fairly. The Milwaukee Bucks was the exception to the rule. They wanted to honor Giannis for sticking to the team and not trying to go somewhere else. If you watch Rise, you'll understand why Giannis stayed with the Milwaukee Bucks. And he has no plans of leaving the Milwaukee Bucks. Ever. Definitely go watch the movie Rise on Disney Plus. I'm talking about during his heyday. Yeah, they went 3 times, and then everybody is playing in the playoffs. They would get smoked. Yeah, Rise was a great movie. That was that 1 in a million chance with Giannis. They were able to get visas. The NBA, they got them visas to be in the United States. They got all of his parents' visas. Well, the Milwaukee Bucks made the smartest decision in the history of mankind, and probably in basketball history. Picking up Giannis was the most riskiest draft pick, probably in the history of professional sports. This man was basically not on a team. Even in Greece, he wasn't really on the team. His paperwork was illegal. They basically was illegals in Greece. They escaped to Greece. Him and his brother played on a team where it was like a national team. And they were so good as far as talent wise. You could see Giannis had the potential. And for them to take Giannis and what sold Giannis. See, Nike wanted to wait to the draft, but they were already sold on Giannis when he sold himself to Nike. And they want to make sure they give him a deal. Because they seen this kid comes from nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then you have the situation where, besides that, the reason that the Bucks took him, Giannis was the only player in the draft who could break down. They was showing him film of the Milwaukee Bucks and showing him Milwaukee and all of the stuff that was happening in the game. And they asked, what would Giannis do in the situation? Giannis was able to break down exactly what he could add and what he could do in this situation by looking at the game and watching it and telling the coach what he would do in the play. And it blew the GMs and everyone away when they sat there and watched Giannis break down the game on what he would be able to do. And they said, this is the smartest player in the draft. Out of all the rookies we brought in, he understands the game already. He's the smartest guy here. He gets it. Now, us polishing him up, that's the thing. Giannis was a little scrawny kid who went through a weight program, and he worked his butt off. He was never going to leave them. He was never leaving the Bucks. And I told him, I was like, he's not from this country. He comes from nothing. The Bucks basically saved his life. He wants to reward them. So for him to win that championship, man, that meant everything to him. To bring a championship to the team that basically saved his life. Giannis, not so much. I don't see him on the move in free agency. Never. I really don't. They will pay Giannis. Anything Giannis wants, Giannis will guarantee. Now, when it comes to all of these other particulars, and those particulars being what is the game about? What is the team about? What is Giannis about? What is What's up, Mr. Bird? Bird came to get wet. He was waiting for somebody to put some water down. I needed a bath. All right, here come the water. Well, people from this country have uh, more of a sense of knowledge of the world. They're not from here. They've been from other places, so they understand the opportunities. They are very appreciative of, like, you living here, think you got it bad. You're like, man, I got it bad. They be like, you haven't seen bad. You've lived here all your life in the United States. What you think is bad is the Ritz for us. They come here, they be really glad to stay at Doe's Motel. We'd be like, I can't stand this place at all. They was like, dude, we lived in a cardboard box, literally. I knew people that slept on sand. They didn't have ground to sleep on. They had a cloth that they laid over sand. I knew people that lived literally in a cardboard box. Literally under a cardboard box. All going down the road. And every morning they'll get up and sell the products that they got, bootlegs, whatever, down in Belize. They were hustlers. They were survivors. So, on that note, yeah, what they call third world countries. Like I told you, I knew people from Belize. I knew people from the Middle East who used to live on sand. They would take a cloth what you would see, a piece of carpet or whatever, lay it out over slate over that, and they lived in a tent. The living room, kitchen, everything was a tent. And the bed was a cloth laid out. So if you think they come to this country and think they're gonna slack and want to go back to that, and you complaining with a roof over your head, man, be grateful, be thankful, because believe me, it's a lot of people out here that got it a lot harder than you. So I'm out. God bless. And we will speak later.